Hey, welcome to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm here with Emin Botzepe, and we're going to discuss a topic today. Recently, we posted a Gracie self-defense video. The self-defense video was for when somebody comes up behind you, grabs you from behind, you drop in the base, and do a forward throw. And somebody commented on there that they thought that this was kind of an unrealistic technique. Can you actually talk a little bit about what the gentleman was saying?
Yeah, it was a fellow martial artist.
A Wing Chun guy, right?
I think he was a Wing Chun guy with experience in karate, boxing, and Krav Maga. Very nice guy. He was very professional, asking a question and saying, yeah, maybe this technique won't work if a female with 100 pounds or 50 kilograms will do it against a man who is 100 kilograms, and he prefers the Wing Chun way, if I got it correctly.
Yeah, okay. So the first thing we want to discuss, and this is going to be a rehash of some things that I always bring up because they are incredibly important to understand, and that I think a lot of martial artists don't understand these really important concepts. The first is the Gracie curriculum. The Alien Gracie curriculum is self-defense. Now, a lot of people just use that term, and what they really mean is fighting. Okay, fighting is the goal is for me to win, right? Self-defense is the goal is for me not to lose, for me to survive, get home safe. And this is incredibly important, not necessarily for the elite athlete or the sport BJJ competitor, but if you have somebody who's a 50-kilogram woman getting attacked by a guy, she doesn't need to try to beat the person up, right? She just needs to get away and get home. So that's, I think, where some people are trying to teach, they call it self-defense, but they're really teaching fighting. What they mean is, you know, the person grabs you, and what you should do is then start punching and kicking and everything. And again, if you take somebody's 50-kilogram woman, and the guy grabs her and she punches him, it's not really going to do much, right? I hate to burst your bubble. That's just unrealistic. So I talked about this tonight, actually, but with self-defense, with the way I think about self-defense, there is a timeline of your priorities. The first should be becoming aware and preventing whatever the situation is. So that might be recognizing that maybe somebody's a potential threat, right, and keeping the distance from them. It could be something as broad as, like, you know this is a bad area, don't go there, or you know that not to go out and get just completely drunk and where you can't even be aware of your surroundings. So the first is, you know, prevent the situation from happening, avoid the situation. The second is, if you find yourself in a situation, escape, right? The first thing to do is escape. What do I mean by that? Somebody grabs you, right? What do we do? We get our hand, we get them to let go, and then we get away if possible, right? This is why, for instance, the very first technique that Grandmaster Elliot would teach is somebody grabs you 2 hands around the throat, he circles his head out. This demonstrated a few things, right? The idea of, I don't grab him, and then he starts punching and kicking and doing all this, because it escalates the situation. We're using, very important, we're using major body mechanics. He's using his whole body against my thumbs. And not somebody thinking, oh, wait, he's going to choke. No matter how hard I squeeze, he tenses his neck, you're not going to choke. A strong person's not going to hold with 2 thumbs. So we escape. If we can't escape, we go into compliance. Right? What do I mean by that? Let's say the person grabs you, he comes in, he puts me in a situation where he's not necessarily hurting me, but he can hurt me, right? So he can then get me to stop what I'm doing, right? Force me to de-escalate the situation, right? Because if I come here and he has my arm, and I don't stop fighting, he can break it, but he doesn't have to. He can sit here now, talk to me, and okay, I give up, I'll stop. Right? And then last would be damaging the person, right? That is where you would maybe do a full joint lock, breaking the joint, striking, which is part of jiu-jitsu, choking the person. But that's a last resort. Too often martial arts, though, They skip everything up and they just go to damage, right? And this has a couple problems. Again, like I said, you take a very small person, very big person in the parking lot, they grab you, and you start punching and kicking. Well, that's not going to happen when this person is punching you back. You've escalated the situation. You made them want to hit you. And the problem, again, comes down to also this. Fights aren't just 0 to 100. It's not just the guy grabs you, he grabs you and starts attacking. It could be the guy's a little bit too comfortable with you. It could be, whether it's a fight between a couple people, I'm pushing him around a little bit, or it could just be a guy's a little too, with a woman maybe a little too forward. He's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And she starts kicking and punching. That's a huge overreaction. And the reality is, even if she's been trained to do that, it's going to be very hard if a guy's just like, hey, let me talk to you for a second. She doesn't feel comfortable just hitting him. So her training has abandoned her. She doesn't have a response until maybe it gets kind of dangerous. Right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of martial arts, Wing Chun for instance, Krav Maga, they're really just damage arts. Right? He's here, like you said, they grab you and you just start chain punching and it's a, what is it, the saying, if you have a hammer,
every problem is a
nail.
It's a nail,
Yeah. So if all you know how to do is strike or jab the eyes out or things like this, yeah, that's a overreaction. So the one thing I've noticed a lot of times when people will criticize certain techniques, one, they either don't tell what they would do, right? Or what they do tends to be very complicated. So a big part of jiu-jitsu is, like grappling for instance, it's very simple for him to just drop into base and throw. Okay? Now, can a smaller woman do that against a bigger person? Absolutely, right? Too bad we had Lisa leave.
Yeah, Lisa's already gone.
It's because here, he puts his weight, I can hold him. I can hold a 300, 400 pound person like this. Doesn't require much effort. Now, if the person was really big and strong, he could actually drop to his knees. Yep. Yeah. Here. Okay, so because the person's holding on tight, this time just drop to both knees right away. I'm grabbing him. Here. Okay, so this is a simple mechanic, and that's what's really important to understand. A lot of jiu-jitsu very simple mechanics. I think the gentleman said something to the effect of, and I've heard this from other people, you have to take into account stress, fear response, all of this. Adrenaline. Absolutely right. The problem is a lot of times people that say this sort of thing, I think they're trying to sound very scientific, like they've done a ton of scientific research. But the problem is then they take all of that and they expect the person to do a very complicated, multi-part response, right? So if I grab you like this, go ahead. It's really one step. It's easy to remember, even under a high-stress situation. He grabs, and I'm supposed to kick here, 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 here. There's no way, and this is why I think you'll see some instructors who teach that kind of thing. It's funny, they'll go, one time they'll go this, 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 or you could do this, 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 or you could do, and they'll throw like 4 or 5 different variations of like 10, 15 steps. If the person is panicking, they're not going to remember 3 steps, let alone 20. And what's worse is if he grabs me around the throat and he's choking me, I only have a couple of seconds hitting him as I get here. So, I mechanically grab it. You and I are about the same size. I can't even knock his arms out that way. I don't expect a 50-kilogram woman to do that. Here, he grabs me. Here, I try to hit him with the ball, do this. Fine nerves. None of that's realistic. Right?
Right. what is the main reaction people has against the choking from behind? It's to grab against the groin, right?
Well, that's
what the people who
right.
teach, this is one of the first techniques they teach.
Right. The problem is this though, right? If somebody grabs you from behind, where are your arms automatically going to go?
Yeah, I'd go up because I want to try to breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you go for my groin,
yeah, you're right.
It's here. Yeah. Right? We have to go off of people's normal reactions. Right? And again, like there's a video, and I will try to link to it below. People say, you know, go for the groin, go for the eyes.
Go for the eyes.
There's a video of a security officer. Woman is, I think she was in a bank or something, and she's causing trouble. The security officer comes over and starts talking to her, and she completely just kicks him in the balls as hard as she can. Groin, I'm sorry. Doesn't knock him out, doesn't do anything. Now, he was a security officer, so he was fairly controlled. He just grabbed her, threw her to the ground. Now imagine if this was somebody who was more of a threat. She kicks, doesn't do anything. Now, you've got a 200-pound guy who's furious, pummeling this woman. Okay? Versus, first option is always what? Escape.
Escape.
Second option is get to a point where you have leverage. Right? If Lisa hits you as hard as she can, right? One of our women that trains here, tough as nails, but she is smaller, is she going to knock you out?
I don't think so.
If she doesn't choke you,
oh yeah,
you'll go to sleep.
Oh yeah.
She does a correct arm lock.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll be her whole body versus his elbow. She'll absolutely destroy it.
You remember my friend Ali, who was once here?
Yes.
And he was a bouncer for several years.
Yeah.
And I was visiting him a lot. So once I saw getting him kicked between his legs, like a perfect kick. It was BAM! And I was thinking, oh my God, he will die. But his reaction was like, right. And he knocked the guy out.
Right.
Also, the same guy got a baseball bat break on his head.
Right.
I mean, he got a broken head,
right.
but he knocked out the other two people before he himself got knocked out.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of sort of. But again, the thing I want to come to is this fantasy of just kind of punching and kicking your way out of things if you're a smaller person. One, you're escalating the situation. Two, it's not very reliable. If I go, and I've said this before, if you go and you hit 10 people in the face, exactly the same, one guy might fall down unconscious, another person might just stare at you. You do a rear naked choke, all 10 of those people, what happens?
They go to sleep.
Every single one of them goes to sleep. So, and then we come down to also when people really fight, right? If there isn't an immediate knockout, and if you're being attacked, it's not a fight. Understand that again. If somebody comes up and grabs me from behind, it's not like we're out in the back parking lot, I just decided to start fighting. I'm being attacked, I'm trying now to defend myself. So, do you remember when Emin Botzepe fought Wing Chun?
Yeah. Okay,
2 Wing Chun guys, very famous Wing Chun guys. What happened in the fight? Within seconds.
They fall to the ground.
They both, I don't think there was hardly any punches, but then they immediately basically got to a headlock, tripped, fell to the ground.
Emin was on top.
Yep, Emin was on top trying to punch. William was trying to fight from the bottom. I think he wasn't like even got a headlock type thing.
He controlled his arm with his leg and started punching him in the face.
Basically, though, it wasn't Wing Chun.
Yeah.
People will say it was Wing Chun ground fighting. No, it wasn't. Right? It was a foot sweep, and then basically they were just looked like 2 basically white belt jiu-jitsu people. Yep. And so the thing is, that is most everybody's response, right? You would like to believe that a fight, you're going to come in, here, all of this, but the truth of the matter is maybe you get one of these things off and pretty soon people are just fighting this. Why? Because that's okay. Didn't really hit him. What happens if you hit me? There. Okay. I'm not going to want to get hit again. Right? Even boxing. Guy gets clocked good, he's going to clinch. But those are professional guys who take strikes. Right? A person on the street, they get one hit once, they don't go out, they're clinching, they're grappling. So knowing how to do that. And also, hit me. I can run away. Grab me. Why can't I run away? Yeah. So I have to now find a way to get out of this. That's our main focus, is to escape this hold. Right? Boom. Hit our throat. Okay? Different holds in Jiu-Jitsu will escape different ways. But again, that's our main focus, is very simple responses. Not super complicated responses that require nerve pinches or groin strikes or eye strikes. Because, can you hit me in the eyes?
Yeah.
Can you hit me in the groin? Did you take any special classes?
No.
It doesn't take really any special classes. In fact, I would wager that if you went with a guy who spent a lot of his training to hit the groin and eyes, you would still win going for the hit, groin and eyes. Why is that? What is Jiu-Jitsu? What do I say Jiu-Jitsu is?
Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, it's an art of
control. Yeah.
If you can control me, who's going to be better off hitting the other person in the vulnerable parts?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you pin me, you underhook, you control, you have here, you can do this all day long. Right? Now, if we're just both going nuts, yeah, maybe I'm better. But the whole point of Jiu-Jitsu is I learned to control you.
That's right.
And I learned not to be controlled. That's the other important thing. And so finally, here's one other thing. What did we do at the end of class tonight?
Sparring?
Sparring.
Yeah.
It's crucial to Jiu-Jitsu, right? What does that mean? That means that we take the techniques that we learn in class and we try them against a resisting opponent. Right? If you are not sparring, you cannot tell me that your technique, you know for certain that your technique will work. Right? Now, we don't, when we're learning the technique, of course we don't do resistance. Right? So the person can learn the technique. But as they get better, we add more resistance, and then finally we try sparring. There is an argument we've heard many times about other martial arts, which is
sparring is too dangerous.
Yeah, they're too deadly. They can't do the techniques they want. To me, that's a cop-out, right? There's techniques in Jiu-Jitsu that are very dangerous, right? We just take them out. You know, when I'm grappling with you, I'm not going for your eyes or going for your throat or going for your groin. Could I?
You can, yeah.
I absolutely can.
Yeah.
Right? And I roll with guys and I say, you know, if you want to, go ahead, but I can do the same back. They never take me up on that offer, by the way. A few have, don't get me wrong. It worked out very poorly for them. So this is why you see guys teaching, and it's kind of like they're fighting a mannequin. So like he throws a punch, you know, I go here, here, ha, here, 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 here. I know it's great, because if you can't beat a guy up who's standing like this, yeah. And even if I kind of do a response, you know, you block, I block, and then you go here. And again, that's very good to a point, but you have to actually spar. Real sparring, okay? And in Jiu-Jitsu, we do that every single time.
Every single time.
And what that does is it does a few things, right? We were talking about the fear response and the anxiety. When you see a big guy come in and he wants to spar with you, how anxious do you get?
How what?
Anxious, nervous.
It's okay.
It's okay, right? Why? You know that you've tested yourself. You've rolled with big people. You sparred with big people. It's nothing new to you.
Yeah, it's pressure tested.
It's pressure tested is a great term. If you haven't really pressure tested, one, you don't know the practice. Also, I don't believe you can believe your instructor, right? Do I get out and roll with guys every night?
Yes, every night.
Yeah. Why do I believe Hoist? You know, I don't call Hoist, you know, master this, whatever I call him Hoist. And why do I believe? Because I've rolled with him, right? He's smashed me. He's shown me that what he teaches me works. Okay? Now the standing self-defense in a lot of schools is practiced very much like kind of kata. But as you get better, you add it up more, right? In the beginning, maybe I you know, do like this. But as we get better, maybe I come here, I start really coming here so he gets more of the response, right? But, you know, we have to just look at simple solutions, and especially ones that get him away. So again, he's either going to escape, or maybe he's going to throw. And again, looking at throwing, right? When you first learn how to do it, maybe it looks difficult. But again, the idea is I can take the biggest guy in our school here, and I can hold his weight like this all day long, okay? It's very easy to do that. Then I just have to bend forward. Now, are there other takedowns that are even easier than jiu-jitsu? Of course, right? You got just simple leg hooks. I can take him down, knee taps, any number of takedowns. So, do you have things you want to discuss with this idea? I think I'm not trying to dismiss other arts. I have a lot of respect for other arts. I've trained a lot of other arts. I've trained Wing Chun.
Me too. And we have a lot of friends here who are training in several different kinds of arts.
Exactly. Pretty much everybody that came up with trained other arts, and I think actually a lot of jiu-jitsu, modern BJJ people who disparage other arts do it because they didn't train. That said, you know, I believe very much in jiu-jitsu, and I think a lot of other arts, certain arts, there was a day in 1993 that was really bad for them, right, when the first UFC happened. And they had to either accept that their world had changed, or maybe start to live in the myths, you know, that what they're doing is too dangerous, and, you know, you can teach a 50-kilogram woman certain nerve pinches or certain strikes. You know, he grabs me, I hit this nerve cluster or something. And for me, you know, anybody can train whatever they want, but I really hope that if a woman is being taught something like this, that she actually never has to use it. Because I think she maybe will have a very rude awakening.
Or maybe she trained a lot and changes her personality to getting aggressive.
That's a good point. Yeah, because these arts are focused very much on being aggressive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in fact,
I mean, I trained a lot in other martial arts, and I trained a lot in Wing Chun, and I have deep respect of Wing Chun. My instructor, Sifu Martin Tragos, was a great guy, but I felt doing a BUG against the eye of someone, I cannot do that.
Right.
I mean, I can do it if I change my personality,
right,
but I don't want to change my personality.
Right.
So I prefer very gentle ways to defend myself.
Right.
And I use jiu-jitsu techniques a lot because I was working with refugees where unfortunately I have to break up some fights. I never used a punch or a kick. It was always controlling, it was locking, it was maybe choking, but to a degree where I can
get them to calm down.
Yeah, get them to calm down.
Right.
And that's what I want to teach my children. I don't want to teach them to punch or kick someone.
Right.
I just want to teach them to defend themselves and to have control of the situation.
Right.
Yeah. Also, if you're talking about other systems, as you know, I train and still teach Filipino martial arts, where we have a lot of poking the eyes, kicking the groins, scratching, biting, pinching, use knives, use elbows, headbutts. It's fun to train, it's good for timing and distance, but if I want to defend myself, I'm 100% focused on jiu-jitsu self-defense because I know I used some of these techniques and I know it is working. I mean, I was sparring with Sven. Sven is a bigger guy than I am. He's more strong than I am. And he grabbed me during sparring here, and I did a basic self-defense technique, and he tapped. And he weighs maybe 20, 25 kilos more than I did.
Right.
Yeah, and during sparring, he showed me that it's working.
Right.
Also, Sven does all the time the wrist lock stuff. The basic self-defense techniques he does to everyone in class during sparring.
Even I've gotten careful about
grabbing
too much. But what you were saying is true too, like, you know, Kali, Eskrima that you've done, the Filipino arts. I think if you actually wanted, you know, it comes from a different culture too, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're thinking, I have to kill someone. Yeah. Right? That is a wildly different mindset. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily apply to a secretary, a German secretary who just wants to get home. She's in the parking lot, somebody's bothering her. Right? There's
a nice story of one of my Filipino martial arts instructors. So he was training several years in the Philippines. Right. And he always trained knife against knife. Right. And he was asking his instructor, Guru, what if I don't have a knife with me? And the answer of this guy was, why you don't have a knife with you? So this is a completely different mindset. Right. So you don't have this mindset.
Even like with Wing Chun, right? It developed because the monks needed to fight, right? They were teaching them, that's why they took a lot of the other martial kung fu's, and they took kind of what they thought was the best and sort of the easiest, in a sense, things to learn. So they didn't have 20 years to train because they were basically fighting off sort of a despotic kind of situation. So they weren't thinking, just I need to protect myself. They were thinking, I have to go out and fight against somebody else. And so when you take that, just that original idea of, you know, I need to go out and beat somebody up. That's not the jiu-jitsu mindset. Right? That's not even, like, even MMA is that mindset, right? I have to go in the cage, I have to beat somebody up. And so this is why, for instance, I remember this one young girl, she was maybe 16, 17, and she was training with me in America. She was a smaller person. She was doing MMA classes. And so I was sparring with her one time, just playing around, and she was standing exactly there. Right? And I was like, no, for self-defense, I need you further away. She goes, why? So every time she'd come in for a strike, you know, and she'd go to punch, I was just hitting her. And I'm like, I'm barely tapping you. Now imagine I was really trying to hit you. So you're not going to be fighting another woman who weighs 90 pounds. If you're fighting a 200-pound person, you've got to be much further away. You've got to be trying to get away. Yeah. Right? And even if I just took punches from her, it's not going to bother me. Right? Now, you know, her grappling was good. If she caught me in an armbar, it was going to be tight. So, you know, the mechanics of the throw here is once I glue myself to my opponent, here, that's a big part of jiu-jitsu. Once somebody commits their weight to you, notice he's not using his arms. So even if he's smaller than me, his back and his legs do the work. Okay? It's very easy to do. Now obviously you need to train it, you know, you need to study it just like anything else. But for me, you know, and even if you just drop your knees and throw the person, it's a much better response. I'm not even sure what the response might be. I don't know. What do you think it might be?
Maybe grabbing the hair and poking the eyes.
Yeah, there's a lot of maybe headbutt the person or grab fingers.
Yeah, maybe finger locking. Yeah. I don't remember. I mean, we did a lot of self-defense training in Wing Chun classes, but I don't remember a technique against the weird show. Maybe grabbing and clawing the eyes, finger locking, grabbing the groin, headbutting. Yeah.
But a lot of that is just kind of assuming they're going to stand there and let you do all that.
Yeah. I mean, when I choke, you cannot headbutt me because I choke with my head down. So.
Yeah. So, again, I think, you know, every art obviously is open to criticism, but the one thing I think that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu did constantly, you know, I think why it's successful, why it continues to be a very interesting art is this: it's always testing itself. Right? So, you know, the Gracie Challenge, Grandmaster Elio, anybody from other styles could come in, fight them. And they weren't doing that necessarily just to promote themselves, obviously, to an extent they were, of course, but they were doing it to test, right? You go in, you're working on this technique, maybe it doesn't work when the guy is punching from this angle or this. Okay, how do we adjust it? Jiu-Jitsu still does that. The way I do the guillotine, for instance, is different than I did it as a white belt, because I've spent 20 years adjusting it. You know, blocking punches. I'm sure in the very beginning I throw a punch, sucker punch with this. Right? One more time. Right here. Maybe in the beginning it was, you know, something like this, traditional Japanese karate. But they realized, you know, every time I do that, he pulls his arm away, and then here. So now it's, I go this, he punches here. So then eventually it became, you know, and then into the clinch, takedowns here. They constantly adjust. A lot of arts, I think, you know, Ip Man, you know, Musashi, whoever said it has to be done this way. You throw the punch, and I go always this way. Well,
it just has its point if you wanna carry on the tradition.
Yep.
It has its point in that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we still teach traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. Because first you have to really understand how it's built. Don't get me wrong. And you know, there's even stuff I take from Wing Chun that I adapted for Jiu-Jitsu.
That's right.
Because of the handwork, I think is really good. So, have you got anything to finish up with on this?
Yeah. What I learned is if you do not use dangerous techniques, because you just use techniques which you can control yourself. I can control if I'm in an arm lock position or in a rear naked choke. I can try it against someone who's defending himself and who's trying to not let me do this technique, because the possibility of hurting my partner isn't that big.
Right.
But if I try to grab the hair and poke the eye,
rip off the ear,
my partner has to let me do that. Otherwise, it's maybe too dangerous for both of us. So I never pressure tested my dangerous techniques.
Right. If I come in and I do this and I go, ha! Yeah. Well, I can pretend I ripped off your ear.
Yeah, but you cannot really try it against someone who's defending himself.
Yeah. It's like I always joke, there was somebody back in North Carolina back years ago who claimed that, I forget what martial art it was, may have been his own, that he could show you how to shut somebody's liver down and kidneys and stop their heart and all this. And I always said, unless you have your backyard is filled with bodies of dead people that you've tried this on, you're just guessing, right? That I do that and your liver shuts down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I kill myself.
Yeah.
You remember Dennis, right?
Yes, of course.
He once had, Dennis is a guy who used to train with us. Unfortunately, he left. He's now living in another country. Very nice guy. He's a blue belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And once he got challenged to a friendly match from another martial artist, and Dennis put him down, get on his back, has the rear naked choke set, and don't choke it. He didn't choke it. He just waited. Right. This guy tries to rip his ears off. So Dennis closed the choke, the guy falls asleep, and after he woke up, he really thought that he was able to defend himself against the rear naked choke because he was free. He was not anymore in the rear naked choke.
He got out.
Yeah, he thought he got out. Yeah, that was very funny. That was very funny. Now I heard that this guy also started training Jiu-Jitsu somewhere.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So, deep respect for all the martial artists. If they work for them, it's really cool. Where I don't have respect is these guys who pretend to block you or knock you out without touching you. I don't have any respect for it because these guys teach false security. That's dangerous.
There's what I tell everybody is simple: is go try a class of whatever martial art, and if it looks like it works, it probably does. If somebody has to convince you that there's something you're missing, or like I remember going to a seminar one time, and this really infuriated me. The person teaching was showing some, typical, he throws a punch, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this. And they said, now, in a real fight, time will slow down for you, and this will be so easy. And that infuriated me because that's exactly not true. That's the exact opposite of what's true. I've grappled now, done jiu-jitsu for almost 20 years, and I have a very control-based game. I still, if you ask me after a roll what happened, a lot of it, it's like when you watch MMA and they get in the cage right after, they go, hey, tell me what happened. I don't know. I was punching and kicking and trying to choke the guy and trying to take him down, and I guess I won. Because it's a blur to them, right? This is why they look, even sometimes at the screen, they go, oh, wow, look at that. Right? Because a fight is chaos, right? We are just more comfortable in the chaos, but it's still chaos. There's no myth where it's like a movie where time will slow down like Sherlock Holmes, right? Where he starts to punch and time freezes, and I can go, you know, this moment. Great movie, by the way. I like that movie. And he does Wing Chun in the movie.
Yeah, he does great Wing Chun.
Yeah, he does great Wing Chun. And it's really entertaining, but it's not realistic.
Anyway, I don't want to fight Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen does also great Wing Chun in the movies. Last but not least, I think there is a reason why the guys from Fort Bragg train Jiu-Jitsu combatives.
Right, yeah. There's a reason that a lot of the military use this simply because it's proven. You know, they have combatives tournaments in the U.S. military every year. Jiu-Jitsu, and then eventually up to Jiu-Jitsu, pancrase, MMA kind of progresses through a few days, simply because it can be tested. Right? A lot of the other stuff you can't really have a Krav Maga tournament, a Dim Mak tournament. They
don't have tournaments at Krav Maga?
Not that I've ever heard of one.
I've never heard of one.
Right.
The Mak tournament will be interesting.
Yeah. You have to wait a month to find out who won. Who's still alive? Who's the winner? We should set up a Dim Mak tournament here in Germany.
Yeah, man.
You know, we'd have to get some serious waivers though, so nobody sues us if they end up dead.
Yeah, that's right. Having a Dim Mak tournament.
So if you're interested in a Dim Mak tournament,
just contact us.
Yeah, just contact us.
Yeah.